The Fall and Rise of a Merchant. In the grand city of Vardhaman, there lived a wealthy and respected merchant. He was known for his generosity and influence in the king's court. One day, the merchant hosted a lavish wedding reception, inviting the most prominent people of the kingdom. The king, the queen, ministers, and noblemen all attended, enjoying the grand feast and celebrations. Among the guests was a lowly sweeper from the royal palace. He had no special status but had sneaked into the gathering and taken a seat meant for noblemen. When the merchant noticed this, he felt insulted. How dare a mere sweeper sit among the nobles, he thought. Angrily, he called his servants and ordered, "Throw him out at once." Humiliated and furious, the sweeper left the mansion, vowing revenge. "I am poor, and the merchant is rich. I cannot fight him directly, but I will find a way to ruin him," he muttered to himself. He spent the night plotting a way to bring the merchant down. Early the next morning, before the king had fully awakened, the sweeper entered the royal bedroom, pretending to sweep. As he worked, he began to murmur softly, "Oh, how arrogant the merchant is! He even dared to embrace the queen." The half-asleep king suddenly opened his eyes. "What did you just say?" he demanded, sitting up. Startled, the sweeper pretended to be confused. "Oh, your majesty, I don't remember. I was up all night gambling, and I must have been talking nonsense in my drowsiness." But the king was already suspicious. The merchant was a trusted man in the court and had free access to the royal palace. Could it be true that he had dared to act so disrespectfully? The king recalled an old belief: people often talk in their sleep about their deepest thoughts and experiences. If the sweeper spoke of this in his half-conscious state, there may be some truth to it, the king reasoned. Perhaps the merchant did embrace the queen when no one was watching. Fuming with anger, the king immediately barred the merchant from entering the palace. He refused to meet him or listen to his pleas. Days passed, and the merchant was devastated. He had done nothing wrong, yet the king had turned against him. His influence and power had vanished overnight. Once respected and honored, he now found himself ignored and humiliated. One day, as the merchant tried to enter the palace to explain himself, the guards blocked his way. He pleaded, but they stood firm. "The king has ordered that you are not allowed inside," they told him. Watching this from a distance, the sweeper smirked. He walked up to the guards and said mockingly, "Ah, the great merchant who once commanded so much respect is now being thrown out. I warned you all, didn't I? He humiliated me once, and now he suffers the same fate." Hearing these words, the merchant realized who was behind his downfall. He understood that the sweeper had taken revenge for the insult. "If I do not win him over, my situation will never improve," the merchant thought. That evening, he invited the sweeper to his home. He welcomed him warmly, served him the finest food, and gifted him expensive clothes. With a kind smile, he said, "My friend, I never meant to insult you. That day, I was merely following tradition by keeping seats reserved for noblemen. Please forgive me." The sweeper, delighted by the unexpected gifts and kind words, grinned. "You are a wise merchant. You have realized that making an enemy of a poor man like me was a mistake. But do not worry, I will fix everything for you." The next morning, the sweeper once again entered the king's bedroom while sweeping. As before, he began murmuring to himself, "The king enjoys eating cucumbers in the restroom." The king, hearing this absurd statement, sat up in shock. "What nonsense are you talking? Have you ever seen me do such a thing? He demanded. The sweeper quickly lowered his head. Forgive me, Your Majesty. I was up all night gambling, and I must have spoken without thinking. I do not remember what I said. The king frowned and thought deeply. If what he said about me is false, then what if his words about the merchant were also a lie? Slowly, doubt crept into his mind. Had he wrongfully punished a loyal subject based on the careless words of a mere sweeper? Looking around, the king realized how much the city had suffered without the merchant. Trade was disrupted, and the royal administration was struggling. Regret filled his heart. He immediately summoned the merchant to the palace and restored all his lost privileges. The merchant, grateful for his wisdom, continued to serve the king with loyalty. And so, with patience and understanding, he regained everything he had lost. Moral of the story: treat everyone with respect, regardless of their status, as mistreatment can have unforeseen consequences. Those who act without verifying facts can be misled by false information. Intelligence and diplomacy can help correct past mistakes and restore lost respect.